Hello! My name's Gareth and welcome to Fat Pigeon Audio Reviews, where today, as you can see, we are back at Audio Lounge Leicester's showroom, where we're going to have a quick look at these, the Wharfdale Evo 4.4 Floorstanders. These are the Wharfdales. As we just said, 4.4s, Evos. I like the look of them. I do like the look of them. It's a Marmite sort of a situation. I've asked a few people that have been into the shop, a few customers. I've asked friends and family because I've had them at my house. And I just sort of got a 50-50, literally 50% of the people said they didn't like the look of them. They were ugly. Too brash, too... But I'm on that other side of the fence. I think they look beautiful. I think especially in this wood, they actually do come in 3 separate colours. They come in the walnut, they come in a black, and they come in white. But with every colour you choose, they still have this wooden grain effect within the paint colour you've chosen. So let's start from the top. AMT tweeter, 3 centimetres across and 6 centimetres high. That's a big tweeter. That is a lovely ribbon sounding tweeter. And we will get back to the sound quality later on in the video. Separate mid-range. So this is a 3-way speaker. Tweeter, mid-range, and then you've got your 6.5-inch Kevlar bass drivers here for your lower frequencies. Now, the specifications of this, they recommend an amplifier between 30 watts and 200 watts to power this. So pretty much any sort of amp out there. Most of the viewers watching this now will have an amplifier that will run these. They are an 8-ohm speaker, but they do hit the bottom lows, they get it down to about 4 ohms. They are 89 decibels. So again, they're not hard to run between that 30 and 200 watt amplification range. They have a frequency response of 44 hertz to 22,000 kilohertz, which is a real nice range. They are very well made. They're very robust. They're heavy. They're 26 kilos in weight. They're a beast of a speaker. They've just sort of put together, for the price point, they've sort of gone above and beyond. I didn't expect them to be this sort of bracing, this heavy. Now, when you look at the stands, I'll do a B-roll. When you look at the stands they have the built-in spikes and the plinth at the bottom. These are actually down-firing ports. So it actually disperses that bass 360 degrees across the floor. So these are quite easy to actually get placed in your room. They're not a massive fiddly speaker where you've got to get them toed in, toed out, not too close to the wall, too far away from the wall. They need space. They're actually really nice just to place down where you can actually have them. So you're not going to be restricted. You haven't got to bring them out 3 foot from the wall for them to breathe. They do sit close. In my own home, I had them less than a foot from the wall. I know it sounded crazy. Less than a foot. They need room to breathe. They really don't with that down-firing bass. It's a sealed unit apart from the bottom, which allows you to put it up against the wall or even in the corner of a room. Have this mid-range driver in there. For me, when listening, especially at home, when you sit down and have a listen, because I love my vinyl, I put my turntable on, and the fact that you can sort of because it's separate, I'm getting ahead of myself. 1,000 things go through my mind. Because it's separate, it sort of allows these drivers to sort of control that bass a bit more. And the separation for me was sort of a lot more significant with this speaker. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of speakers out there that do separate very well on a 2-way basis or 2.5 way. But this 3-way, just the separation, especially for this price point of £1,199, the separation was very good. And I think that's due to this separate mid-range with the drivers. It doesn't seem to mush the sounds together. It really does pull them apart. Now, with the bass drivers themselves, the 6.5-inch bass drivers, they've got this really nice lower end frequency to them. The bass extension is deep, 44 hertz. Yeah, but it just seems to be a little bit lower for me on certain tracks, dance tracks. They're a lively speaker, but not in the way that you think, not in a bad way lively speaker. They're not adding things. They're not too bright. They're nowhere near too bright. These are a neutral, very realistic, natural sounding speaker. They've got that bass extension that you want that's really tidy and sort of hugs. They sort of draw in all that bass. It doesn't bloat and go everywhere throughout your room. It really does control it very nicely. And with the two drivers, you get that impactfulness. On certain dance tracks at the certain volume, you can really feel the impact. And you can sort of see this bass like a shockwave coming towards you. And I absolutely loved it. And I was super shocked at it, again, at the price point. Let me tell you now, I'm going to say at this price point quite a lot through this video. It's just what I do. I threw a lot of different variants of music through different tracks, through these speakers, trying to trip them up, trying to make them falter, but they didn't. They really did not. I put a lot of, I've got a new vinyl from Dido's new album with vocals, beautiful guitar strings, for in the mids. And this mid-range just gave me that music, that feeling, that detail. And then the sort of the bass comes in to give her that extra depth to her throat, but it's tighter and it's controlled and it was super natural, super realistic. And then went to another favorite track, which was Soft Landing, which I use a lot. Which is, again, it's got clarinets in it, it's got trumpets, maybe saxophones in it, and then it's got a really beautiful warm string that plays just onto the left-hand side, and then the sort of air from the trumpets and the saxophone flows through, and they sort of meet in the middle with this string, and the imaging sort of brings it all together, where these two instruments meet within the middle. And again, the separation with the music was absolutely superb. I absolutely loved them. And again, I've listened to a lot more expensive speakers, and I didn't expect these to be sort of high up in the market in the sound stage. Whoo! When you get these, not quite flat, not quite pointing directly at you, and not towed in too much, there is a sweet spot. Like I say, you can put them as close to the wall as you want, without any sort of interference, which is great. Well, about a foot away, I had them at. I didn't go any closer than that. But then all of a sudden, this sound stage and this build up to tracks. And then all of a sudden, you sort of close your eyes. And what I do is I have a little competition with my kids. So what I do is I seat them down and I put a track on called Bubbles. And it's just for imaging purposes and for sound stage. And I say to them to close their eyes. And then when they hear the sounds, I want you to point. Where do you think that's coming from? Where do you think that's coming from? I said, close your eyes and point to where the sound's coming from. And they pointed very, very wide, way past the speakers. And so did I. It wasn't just the kids. I was doing the same test too. And these get wide. The sound stage is warm yet crisp. And it's just this. They're a very big sounding speaker. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are floor standers and they have these two beautiful drivers and the mid-range and it just all works together. It really does. Go and have a listen to a pair at your local hi-fi shop as and when you can. Again, at this price point, I was absolutely astonished by them. Or come here at Audio Lounge Leicester. If you're within the area, I will be more than happy to put these on and have a listen to these, because they really do something different. They're neutral. They're a neutral, very nice sounding. Ooh, I can't get my words out. I'm thinking of words and I can't get them out. They are, for realism, within the instruments themselves. I actually really did like them. The amp we were running, by the way, was the Audiolab 9000 that I was actually testing these out with. With the Audiolab and with this speaker, the Audiolab generally brings vocalists and the mid-range forward. And it did slightly, not as much as some of the speakers, but it kept it sort of just past the front of the speaker, where Dido, for instance, was singing and doing all the vocals. And the imaging, like I said before, on certain tracks, you can tell that she's sitting down. The imaging is very good and very clear to whereabouts they are within this set musical space in front of you. They're not, like I say, I'm not a massive fan. I know it doesn't really matter to you. It's how you hear things and how you want to hear them. But I'm not a massive fan of the recessed sound. So when the vocalists, guitarists and stuff are further back, a lot of people like that for the depth. But But I sort of don't. I'm not a fan of that when it's sort of they step them back too far. I want to be either right in the middle here with the imaging and the soundstage, or slightly further forward. I want the vocalists and the guitarists to be singing and sort of playing for me within the room, sort of more focused on me. Don't get me wrong; these are not a focused speaker. They do throw wide sound. They pinpoint on the imaging is very, very good. The separation, I think it's because of that driver, that separate mid-range. Because of that, the separation of all these instruments, you get the resonances that keep going and keep going and keep going, and there's also something else going on this side as well. Someone's playing a guitar and you can hear the ding, and then someone's hit a drum. Everything works and it's very, very separate on these. And with the, like I say, with the sound stage and with the way that these speakers are producing the sound, they're not recessed. They're not sort of in the middle. They're just sort of slowly more further forward. Again, that could be the 9000 amplifier. That's what I love about that amp. It brings everything forward towards you, for you. And these paired with that amplifier, oh yes. Again, with the SA10, these did really, really well. The Audio Lab for me has got a little bit more warmth than the SA10. But the SA10, when I tried it at home, it was analytical. Yes, it was. And the detail, every single piece of detail was there. Putting these through my vinyl just on the SA10 alone. Don't get me wrong, it's not the best amp. It's not the worst amp. But I've heard a lot more amplifiers now. And the SA10 really did cope with these and do them justice. Not as much as certain other amps, but the SA10 ran them beautifully in my home. And I got used to them, and I felt myself coming downstairs and listening over and over again, thinking, these are going soon. I need to get as much listening time with them as possible. And I did, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I understand why What Hi-Fi have gave it a 5-star review, because go and have a listen to a pair. I cannot say really enough about these. With the texture on the bass, and it's really low. It's quite surprising. When you get the right sort of EDM sort of dance track going through them, they really do have this impactfulness, like I said earlier, and it can hit you in the chest. There's only a certain few speakers that do that for me, but with this array of speakers and the drivers that they're using, and they're getting down to the 44 hertz frequency, it's not just, like I said, a bloated, oh, let's do what you want sort of a bass. It is controlled. It's being told what to do with authority, and it's being thrown out at you. And you're like, woohoo, on certain tracks, it will put a big smile on your face. But then there's the other end of the spectrum where you can just sit and listen to some sort of opera, but you're getting the detail and the vocals from that mid-range, that 50mm dome tweeter is just piercing the room. Not piercing the room, that makes it sound bright. It's just throwing this vocal and guitars and violins in such a way that it's just like floating towards you, and it's just lushly blowing over you. The sound is. I know it sounds silly, but this is what I picture when I was listening to them at home. And I'm trying to sort of, yes, we've got all the specifications here. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that this has got these numbers. This does this. There's graphs and whatever else. But I just want to tell you what I felt like and what you should be feeling like, and hopefully what you feel like when you listen to them for yourself. Everything just ticks a lot of boxes for me with these. Again, I do like the look of them. I like a floor stander. They do fill a big space. Now, on that big space, I'm not sure how well these would do in a smaller room. Like I said before, if you are interested, if you want to have a listen to these, in smaller rooms, they're big sounding. They're big sounding. I didn't get a chance to try them in a smaller room, but I think they'd be okay. But the sort of impression you get with how big and forceful they are and the sound they're producing, I'm not sure how they will work in a small room. But in the rooms like this one at the listening room here, and a room that's like 4 or 5 meters, my room at home is about 5 meters by 5 meters, maybe 6. So it's a little bit smaller than this area that we listened to, and they worked brilliantly, and it filled that room beautifully. So this was just the first look video. I wasn't going to go too mad on them. But at some point, when I get a chance, I will put a sound test on for you guys out there that do want to hear these. Don't get me wrong, it's not the best sound in the world, the microphones I've got, but it will give you a gauge. It will give you sort of an idea of what you're going to be getting with these, for that lower end as well, especially. And they sort of do everything so well. This is a great all-rounder at £1,199. Let me leave it there. Let me leave the video there. Again, it was just a quick first look. Also, what I'm going to do today, same day, if I've got chance today, is I'm going to put on the 4.2s, because the 4.2s are the little brothers of these. And also, I'll get into the review. I'll get into the review of those another day. Hopefully today, maybe not. We'll see how we get on. I just want to say a big thank you, especially if you watched it till the end. Thank you so much for watching, and fingers crossed, I will see you in the next one.